today I want to talk about 5 steps on how to sustain from having sex before you get married. Now, let me tell y'all this. I know I say this in almost every video, but I just want to put it out there that I did save myself for marriage, and that my husband's the only person I've ever been intimate with in that way, sexually intimate with, and that him and I have decided to, we decided to save our first kiss together and sex for marriage, and so yeah, so it was pretty amazing, I will say that. But not to get into that, I just want to really just give you some tips on how to sustain from that. From being sexually intimate. I don't know, you may be in a relationship where you're not happy and you're in a place where you're just like, man, like, I feel like I'm not being treated with the love that I can be treated with, and I feel like I just want to keep from having sex because every time that I've opened myself up to this person or given them, you know, this part of me that's so valuable, they've degraded me, or they don't respect me the same way, or they don't honor me the exact same way, you know. Or you could just be like, hey, like, it's getting hard in these streets. I've been celibate all this time, but it is getting hard. God, what is going on? And so I have some steps for you guys that I hope really does help. And yeah, comment down below and let me know if you have any questions or any like prayer requests. So the first step, or the first tip I'll say, that really helped me to keep myself celibate was keeping boundaries. And so me and my husband, when we were courting, I will say that we always wanted to be around each other, always were around each other. But when it came to like late at night or a certain time, I didn't hang out with him by myself. Or sometimes we would just meet up somewhere versus going to the place together. And so just creating those boundaries and then setting them in the beginning stage of when you're talking to that person, or if you're in a relationship with someone, setting those standards and setting those boundaries, letting them know, you know, I'm comfortable with this, but I'm uncomfortable with that. For instance, I'm comfortable with hugging, I'm comfortable with, you know, being cuddly and you putting your arm around my shoulder, but as far as like you kissing me or kissing my neck, or, you know, let's just be real, kissing me, you know, in places where you shouldn't be kissing me because those can be trigger points, that's just not okay, you know. And so just setting those boundaries and setting those standards and just letting them know, I will not do this, and this is not something that I want to do, you know, and that I want to be celibate until I get married, you know, and letting yourself know, you know, not to do certain things and not to, you know, overstep the boundaries that you put into place, or that God has put into place in your life. And your next tip is to keep a covering. And what I mean by that, keep a covering, I don't want to sound vague, but have a covering. So what I mean by that is have someone who you have accountability to, who you know is strong in this area, who can pour into you, who can pray for you, who can encourage you when you get weak or when you feel tempted, you know, and who can remind you of your boundaries and your standards, even when you feel tempted or you feel like, man, I feel like I'm about to mess up. Keep that person with you. Keep that person updated. You don't have to tell them everything about your relationship, but telling them some things that you may be comfortable with or uncomfortable with, or things you may be getting tempted with, is so helpful, because having this person, they're able to pray for you, they're able to intercede for you. Personally, my accountability person was my mom, and I know a lot of people are like, why would you have your mom? Like, that's kind of different, because I know like some people, like especially pastors' kids or church kids who are in the church, sometimes they feel like their parents can be judgmental or quote unquote hard on them, and they just don't understand, and that does exist. However, God bless me, with my mom, she wasn't very critical, she wasn't hard on me, but she understood, and she was very compassionate. And so I would tell her things like, hey mom, you know, I'm getting some chills when I get around my man, and I'm going to need some prayer, you know. And so she would just like remind me of those boundaries that I set, and she's like, don't cross those boundaries, you know, keep that line in the sand, you know, until he's your husband, because he can't have that until he marries you, you know. And just will remind me of the consequences that would come. So she would remind me of the consequences that would come from me overstepping those boundaries. And so she just would remind me, like, you know, if you allow this, then you know there's just consequences that come, and just for sin in general, whether you're fornicating, whether you're, you know, drinking, smoking, whether you're battling homosexuality, you know, all of those things, there are consequences for them, you know. And so I was just like, you know what, let me weigh my options here. Do I really want to go through that? Do I really want to feel that, those things and those emotions? And I said no. And so yeah, oh my gosh, my mom is calling me right now. But anyway, so or she just left me a voicemail. But anyway, so yeah, just having that person there to encourage you, and then not just that, she would encourage me, pray for me, just say it's gonna be okay. It's almost over. You know, you guys are about to be married soon. Everything is gonna be good. You're gonna be fine. The next tip that I want to give you guys is to stay in the presence of God. And I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but that is so important, that you have your own relationship with God, that you have your own conviction. It's good to have mom and dad and grandma pray for you, you know, and for them to remind you of your conviction, but to have your own intimate relationship with God, knowing that you know, that you have this connection, you know, with this amazing God, the amazing God who created you. It's amazing, and it keeps that conviction there, and it keeps God first. You know, you don't put that person first and put their desires first and put your desires first, but you put his desires first. And so spending time with God, spending time in his word, reading the word of God, continuously studying the word of God helped me personally. You know, getting in his presence and God just reminding me, you know, every day that this is who you are. You know, you're going to walk in a powerful purpose. Just keep going. You're going to help so many people, you know, and staying in the word of God, reminding me like that you belong to me, that I'm first. You're not married to him. You're completely and totally committed to me in every way possible, you know. And so being in God's presence was helpful too. Tip number 4. Okay, this one is really amazing, but I know I kind of said this in the first one, but respecting your boundaries that you placed up. You know, I heard a saying before that it's hard for people to respect you if you don't first respect yourself. If you don't respect those boundaries that you put into place, no one else will. If you don't say, hey, I'm not doing this, and you're not firm and serious about it, and you're not going to places that who knows what time at night, you know, and you're, you know, coming home and you're doing what God has told you to do, you know, people will respect you, they'll honor you, you know. And so when you respect yourself and you respect the standards that God has put in your life, other people will respect them. You know, like to this day, my husband respects and honors me because I respect and honor myself. I didn't, you know, say, you know what, hey, let's get it on. You know, we're being tempted, we feel them chills and them tingles. Let's do what we gotta do. And I'm like, no, we're not doing it. And it's not that he even would try, but sometimes when you really love someone, those emotions naturally come, and you feel like, man, I just wish I could express and show them how much I love them, and it's so extremely difficult. But you have to, no matter what, put your flesh aside and put your spirit first, and you listen for the voice of God and get out of there, okay? You know, and so yeah, so definitely respecting your boundaries that you set up, respecting the standards that you put into place, you know, and just yeah, respecting yourself, and don't put yourself, you're too valuable for that. Don't put yourself out there like that. So tip number 5, hang around people who are practicing what you're practicing, okay? I cannot stress this enough. You know, there's so many people who I've reached out to, who I've ministered to, or even who I've like talked to just as a friend, or just someone who you like, you know, you want to encourage, and they're just like, it's hard. All my friends, they, you know, they club, they drink, they're, you know, they're having sex or whatever, you know, and it's hard because it's like, I want to do this too, you know what I mean? You're not them. You're accountable for your soul. Everything that you do in your body, you're going to be held accountable for it before God. And so you can't really be caring too much about what your friends think or how they feel or whatever. It's between you and the Holy Spirit. And so hang around people, you know, who practicing what you're practicing because it makes it so much easier. You know, people who are celibate, people who are encouraging, who are motivating you, who are cheering you on because they're doing the exact same thing, you know? And so being around those people will help you so much, I promise. And if you don't have like a bunch of people who you know in your inner circle or in your family or friends or who you can run into, you know, where they're practicing what you're practicing, do what you're doing right now. Watch videos of people who are practicing celibacy, who are practicing keeping themselves, who are practicing keeping their minds on Jesus. You know, watching those videos will help you so much, you know, and just pouring that into your spirit daily, pouring it to your spirit constantly. You know, listening to, you know, broadcasts or listening to CDs, or my dad listens to tapes, cassette tapes. Not about celibacy, we're just about the word of God. But yeah, listen to those things. Listen to music that'll keep you focused on God. You know, it's all about what you pour into your spirit. It's all about what you're telling yourself is what you will reap and what you will reproduce. And so if you're always around people who are telling you, why are you doing that? That's stupid. That don't make sense. Like, you just, what are you doing that for? Your man gonna leave you. Ooh, you don't want to do that because if you don't test drive your Bentley, you ain't gonna be good. Let me tell you right now, homegirl, okay? God's got you. He's not gonna have you, or homeboy if you're watching this, because sometimes I speak to girls just out of forgetfulness, but God's got you. If you're faithful to him, God will be faithful to you. I promise you, I've been through this season. I was single for 5 years, okay? I didn't date anybody, and that was hard. Seeing people who I knew in relationships and saying, I'm like, God, like, this is hard, but God's like, obey me. For 5 years, it was tough. When I tell you it's tough in these streets, I mean, I used to be crying sometimes, but I'm like, dang, I wish I was in a relationship. I wish I could feel all those emotions. I wish I could be loved by somebody like that, you know, but before I knew it, my season came because of the obedience that I had sown, and because of listening to, you know, people who were in the same zone as me, and just those encouraging words, and watching, you know, celibate videos and of couples who waited, you know. And so watching things like that will really, really encourage you and sustain you. So, yeah. I'm always dancing. I was watching, what movie was I watching? I was watching House Party yesterday, and all those dances are like kind of in my head. See, it's all about what you pour in your spirit. You gotta stop pouring stuff in your spirit. But yeah, so anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, make sure you tap that thumbs up. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like for me to talk about. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and have an awesome and an amazing, blessed, favorable day.